This video I have wanted to film for not that long because we've only been in our duplex for like a couple of weeks and the whole process as a whole kind of went fast. But like many people, I have been listening to a lot of real estate podcasts and just investing and those kinds of things. And I came across Bigger Pockets. Let's put this. I came across a Bigger Pockets episode that kind of introduced me to the idea of house hacking and house hacking through a duplex. So if you live under a rock, let's start there. I think that's a really good place to start. Essentially, house hacking is where you buy a single family, a multifamily, so like a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and you live in one side or you live in one room and you rent out the other rooms or you rent out the other sides of the plex. So that's what we did. We bought a duplex and we live in one side of it and we have a tenant in the other side. So some of the positives, I won't get into like a full positives and negatives of a duplex house hack or house hacking in general, because I think there's a lot of resources on YouTube that go into depth on the idea of house hacking. I'll just say for us, it just made the most sense because we could live in one side and then rent out the other side. And so if we would have half the mortgage being paid. And in our market, there's not a whole lot going on. So let's talk about why we even wanted, my husband and I. When I say we, I'm referring to my husband and I. Why we even wanted to buy a duplex and just kind of the big why behind it. So back in 2024, my husband and I bought property. We bought 5 acres and we're building a shop house and we're building a main house on this property. And so we knew that the shop house was probably going to take us a year to build because we're doing a self-build, owner build. And so we're footing the cost for the build out of our pocket. We're not taking out a loan or anything for it. We took out a loan for the land, but not for the build. And so we knew that for the next year, we are going to need to live somewhere. So we had really 2 options. We could live in our current house that we were renting and pay our landlord's mortgage for a year, or we could move into a duplex and pay a mortgage that would go towards benefiting our family instead of benefiting someone else. Don't get me wrong, we loved where we live. We loved our house. We lived in our house for 5 years, and so we loved living there. But it just made more sense because we knew that we were gonna need to live somewhere for a year. We were gonna be paying about $1,100 to someone, either to ourselves or to our landlord. It wasn't gonna change. And I knew that just by my calculations, I was factoring that we would probably be spending about $1,200 for the duplex for our side, and then the tenant would pay the other side. And so I was like, honestly, pay $1,100 and live in our current place to somebody else's mortgage, or pay $1,200 in our own place and pay towards our own mortgage. The math was mathing. It just made sense to me in my head. If you guys see me looking, my notes are over here. But yeah, so really it just made sense from like a timing standpoint and from a financial standpoint to get the duplex. Another reason why we decided that we wanted to get specifically a duplex is because in the area that we live in, the median home price, like the average home price, is about $400,000 for like a nicer home in a nicer area. And so we knew that we couldn't afford the full mortgage on buying a home. And we weren't looking to buy a home that would be our forever home. We needed to buy something that was like, we were only gonna be there for a little bit and then we were gonna rent it out. So if we bought a single family home and tried to house hack that, the true house hacking just doesn't work for our family. We didn't want to buy a single family home with like 4 bedrooms and then rent out those bedrooms to help pay the mortgage. We have a 1.5-year-old. She's 1.5. And so having roommates, and we're married, so having roommates with a child just didn't seem like something that we were that interested in. And so that's why the duplex specifically house hack made the most sense for us. Because on a $400,000 home, the mortgage would probably be somewhere around $2,600, $2,700. and we just cannot, we're not about that life. Like we were currently paying like basically $1,100. So to jump from $1,100 to $2,800 was a big jump. And so that's where the duplex came along, so that we could have help paying off our mortgage, but also not have to rent out rooms like a traditional house hack. So a little bit about the actual duplex. I think I mentioned before, it is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, side-by-side. So each unit is exactly a mirror of the other unit. And one side was already vacant, so we didn't have to like evict anybody or like kick anybody out. And then the other side has a tenant who has been there, gosh, she's been there for like a year and a half, I think, and she's really happy there. She hasn't missed any like rent. She's been a really great tenant, has a really good history. So honestly, the duplex that we found fits us perfectly. I looked at probably about 4 to 5 duplexes. There's not that many on the market where we live. And really there just wasn't a ton that fit what we were looking for. I knew I wanted a side-by-side because a top-bottom duplex just really didn't appeal to me because, again, we have a toddler. So if we were on the top, people would probably not like how loud she is, like stomping around. If you know, you know, toddler stomp. And so I knew that I didn't want, and I also knew that I didn't want somebody above us because, again, when a baby is sleeping, you just don't want a lot of loud stuff. So I was like, I don't want tenants above us. The duplex that we settled on was, like I said, it's side by side. They had it listed for $370,000, and it had been on the market for like, gosh, I want to say like 200 to 300 days, so almost like a year, which said a couple of things to me. I wasn't sure if the seller was motivated to sell, because I'm sure that they got offers in that amount of time because it's a great duplex. So I was like, okay, maybe they're not very motivated to sell, you know, but I wanted to come in a little bit lower just because it had been on the market for so long. So I was like, okay, I think we came in at like 320 and they said no. He's like, no. And so they countered back, I forget at what. And then we settled on 358. So like I said, from 370 to 358, I felt like I wanted a little bit less than that. Like I thought that they could have came down on that a little bit more, but honestly, that's where they were comfortable. That's where I could make the numbers work because as I'm like going through this process of finding a duplex and just looking at the prices and looking at like running mortgage calculations online, I knew that I needed the mortgage to be ideally somewhere around $2,000 to be able to cash flow in the future once we move out. We settled on, I think our mortgage is $2,479, so $2,479. And so when you take that and you divide it by what we could rent out each unit for, in the future, we will be able to cash flow. I definitely have it as a goal of mine to be able to cash flow on this duplex in the future. My husband and I, we have one daughter, and in the years to come, I'm sure we're going to want to have another child, and it would be really, really nice to have income from rental properties to help with my maternity leaves. Tangent on maternity leaves, because like if you work for yourself and you are a mom, then you know maternity leave is a little bit hard. My last maternity leave, I paid for my entire leave, and I took like an 8-month leave. And so I'm anticipating the same thing for the next time around, that I'll have to pay for my maternity leave again. And so this rental property really is going to be a great opportunity for me to be able to have income during maternity leaves in the future. So that's a long spiel, but that's one of the drivers for doing this property and doing this house hack duplex thing. I would say that if you guys want like a full breakdown of like how much it cost, like what was the asking, what was the offering, what was the down payment, interest rate, FHA loan, all of that fun stuff, I can make a separate video that goes more in depth about that. I think that could be a really fun video, especially in 2025, because I watch a lot of real estate. Oh, the sun is coming out. I watch a lot of real estate videos, and it's always just like the numbers are always so off. Like, oh, I bought this house in 2020 and I bought it for 60K. It's like in 2025, we're not seeing $60,000 houses. And if we are, the house is literally falling apart and is in like the worst neighborhood. Like, okay. So I think it's really important to talk about numbers that are a little bit more up to date. Even now, I like listen to podcasts that are coming out now, and they're like talking about how in 2025 they bought a house for 112,000. Like, there's no houses unless you're buying in like bum nowhere, then you can get a house for that low. But if you're living in like a normal city, like actual city, I'm looking at the city behind this camera right now. If you live in the city, you're not finding houses for 100K. And if you are, you're putting in another 100K to fix them up. And as like a newbie investor, that's really not something that I know anything about. And so that's just not where we're at right now. So I can share the numbers, and they're realistic numbers in my opinion. I would say that one huge piece of advice that I would give to anybody who wants to get into real estate or really get into house hacking or wants to buy a duplex or a triplex or anything, and you're just like you're starting from scratch, is know what's called your buy box. I'm not gonna go too into that because I'm new to investing, but essentially what I gather a buy box is just like your parameters. So know how much you've been pre-approved for from the bank, so how much you can even afford. Know what you're looking for exactly. Know what you're not looking for and what you will like, what your max budget is, like what you just will not get down with, and those kinds of things. So I knew really I wanted to be somewhere in the $300,000 range. We did end up settling out at 358, so quite higher than what I was actually looking for. But our highest that I knew that we could go was 350,000. I knew that the most that I could put down was like 20 to 25, which is about 3.5%. That was like our closing costs and all of the different fees that go into it. So I would really, really recommend just knowing what parameters you're actually looking for, so you could stick to them, and have you and your partner, or just have somebody who's holding you accountable, because it's really easy to see a lot of like flashy things and see a lot of like homes that you would love to live in, that you'd love to own, and then get yourself into a mortgage that you can't afford. So just have somebody who's keeping you accountable, or keep yourself accountable if you can. I definitely was really willing to risk it for the biscuit. I would say that I have a high tolerance for risk, and my husband has a little bit less of a high tolerance for risk. Like, he really likes comfort. For me, I can make a decision, like on the duplex. I pretty much made the decision that we were gonna buy a duplex, and at first he wasn't really on board, but I just really explained to him that it was the right move for our family, and we literally bought a duplex a month later. And sometimes I like pinch myself and I sit in the duplex that we live in, and I'm like, oh my God, we did this. Like, I had the idea, I heard it on like Bigger Pockets or somewhere, and it made sense for our family. It made sense for like the timeline of our family, and I just went for it. So know exactly what you're looking for and what you're not looking for, and stick to it. That would be my biggest piece of advice, because the process actually goes pretty fast. Between the time that we looked at the place and like we closed on it, I want to say it was like a month, or maybe, I don't know, might have been a little bit more, because I'm self-employed, and so the financing and just like the paperwork, and I had a 8-month maternity leave in the month or in the year of 2024, and so underwriting and the lenders, they were not really happy with that, and they were really uncomfortable with the fact that like my business was kind of on a standstill, and I didn't make any money for 8 months because I had a baby. And so if you are self-employed, take that into account, that you might have to provide more paperwork. They might be like, lenders might be kind of weary to give you a loan because you don't look super, it's just shaky. When you're self-employed, you have highs and lows for income. And so lenders get a little bit weary of that. But thank God I've had my business for going on 4 years, and in 2022 and 2023 I had really great years. And so yeah, just that was a little hiccup that I wasn't really anticipating, is the maternity leave to be such a big deal. So what's our plan with this duplex? I mentioned it before. Our plan with the duplex is to live in it for a year while we're building the shop house. And then probably more towards the summertime, I want to renovate it. I love the current kitchen. I actually really do like the current layout of the duplex. I can show pictures, but I just feel like it's so outdated, and we do want to hopefully rent it out for about $1,400. In our area, a 2x1 apartment, house, condo, whatever you want to name it, typically rents out between $1,200 and $1,500. It's a pretty big, you'll find it's different just depending on the neighborhood, the not the comps, but the amenities and things like that. And so I want to renovate the kitchen, renovate the bathroom, and I want to add an accent wall to the primary bedroom. I don't know where, when, how I'm going to do all of this, but hopefully after the renovations, we can rent the unit out, the unit that we live in, out for about $1,400, $1,500. The other unit is currently being rented out for $1,300, but $100 of that goes to water, sewer, garbage, so really it's $1,200. And so $1,200 on one side, and then the other one will be $1,500, hopefully, I don't know. And then hopefully in a couple of years, once we pay down our principal and, you know, the loan amount, we can refinance into a lower mortgage. I do think we'll be able to do that. I don't know, it just depends, because we did a buy down on our interest rate, and so our interest rate currently is 5.5%, which is not, it's good, that's great, because a lot of interest rates are like 6.5. So the fact that we got our interest rate down to 5.5 is pretty good. So hopefully in a couple of years, we could refinance for a lower interest rate or refinance at the same interest rate. We'll see. And I think, yeah, so we'll see. That's the goal with the property, with the duplex. We do have property. That's the goal with the duplex, is that hopefully we will be able to do some renovations to it, and I can film the renovations. And it's fun because I'm an interior designer, so I'm trying not to over design anything. We'll see what happens, but we want to do some renovations, hopefully rent it out for about $1,400-$1,500 to help cash flow on it. I'll do another video. Comment down below if you want to see a video with all of the numbers and all of the future numbers that I'm anticipating in the next couple of years. Because really a duplex, really any real estate investment is like a longer term game, a long-term investment. So hopefully it'll just continue to get better and better and better, and not worse and worse and worse. We'll see. But if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I think that with my channel, I'm gonna start talking a little bit more about other things that interest me outside of interior design. Obviously, interior design interests me, but I'm finding it hard to record my interior design content just because there's clients, and I want to be respectful of clients' homes, their investments, their money. You know, it's just like, it is kind of a little bit more of a personal job to be in, and I don't want to be sharing too much of people's personal homes. So I will still continue to share like design with me's and like the process of things, but I am going to start gearing this channel a little bit more towards just investing, not investing in real estate, because I don't really envision this being like a real estate channel where I talk about real estate, because I just am so new to it that I really don't want to be trying to position myself as somebody who knows anything about real estate, because I do not. But I do want it to be just about me investing in a better future for my family, for myself and for my family. So I want to talk about just investing my time and investing like my time in my businesses, investing my time in real estate, investing my time just in budgeting. I want to do some budgeting videos to show how we're paying this mortgage and how we're balancing having 2 mortgages, because we have a mortgage on the land too. And we're not like super wealthy people by any means. My husband and I think I mentioned it before, my husband works in construction, and so that is a great field to work in. And then I am self-employed. I have the interior design business, and then I am starting a business on the side additionally for interior designers. And so really, I just want this channel to be about me investing in a better future, because there's a whole thing. I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but we did not grow up with money, and so we really, really want to be smart about it and just try to make a better future for our daughter. And so that's why we're doing this. So you will find me like kind of just gearing towards some other topics on this channel outside of interior design. And if you like it, please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe, because it's so interesting just to be talking to the ether, like talking to no one. Actually, I'm talking to my mother-in-law because she watches all my videos. So shout out to you. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and comment down below if you want to see the numbers behind the duplex.